All right, welcome into the first real off-season episode of First and Pod. But as the football cliches and sayings go, there's really never an off-season in the NFL. Combine is next week, and then after that, free agency really gets started. And so what we're going to do here on our next two episodes is we're going to take each conference and go through each team, their biggest off-season storyline at the moment. Some teams might get bunched together because they have a similar storyline going into the offseason. And so on tonight's episode, we'll do the NFC, and then the next time we get together, we'll do the AFC. For those that are unfamiliar, he's Patrick Peterson. You might remember him. He's one of the great special teams players and corners in NFL history. I'm Andrew Fillipponi. I've done nothing in the NFL other than just give my opinions on it for about 20 years. And Spencer Ray, who's producing from Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I think he used to be a diehard Lions fan, and now he's more agnostic when it comes to football and would rather just bet on sports and drink craft beer. He did say never Lions fan. So what was your team, Spence, when you were like a 12-year-old Spence was living and dying with who exactly? Please don't say Cowboys because I'll want to stop the pod.
Nobody. Oh, nobody.
They're interesting. All right.
Wow, very interesting.
Love of the game, he says. Interesting. All right. So, again, subscribe, rate, review. That's the easiest way for this podcast to get bigger, is not just to listen whenever you see it, but actually subscribe to it. That way it's super easy. It gets dumped in your feed, and that way you'll never miss an episode, and you'll always be up to speed on things. It's pretty much regular football talk for people. We don't get too X's and O's heavy. We also don't just completely shoot things out of our ass, so it's a pretty happy medium. All right, Pat, so here's what I did. I basically, for the NFC, and we'll do this for the AFC, I went in a list from the team that has, according to the odds makers, the best Super Bowl odds for next year, down to the team with the worst. Okay. And the biggest storyline, in my opinion, that team is dealing with as we get into the 2025 offseason. And so the first team is obviously the Eagles because they just won the Super Bowl. And the story here for them is their passing game coordinator, Kevin Patullo, got promoted to offensive coordinator now that Kellen Moore is off for greener pastures in New Orleans. And so the question is, do you see this as a potential problem? The Eagles losing their coordinator and replacing him with a guy who's never called plays in the NFL before?
100%. It could be a problem. Just like the last thing that you just said, that he never called plays in the NFL before. It's all fine and dandy when you have the heads set on and Kellen is calling the plays, or I don't know how long Kevin has been a part of the Eagles organization, but
2021, he got there when Sirianni got there, and he's been
he's been on the headset when Sirianni called plays, when the coordinator went over to the coach when he called plays. So he never actually been in those moments. So therefore, that can be a big problem, because now let's just say Kevin has all the pull, he can call what he want to call, right? And Nick Sirianni, I'm speaking of the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, he don't like a certain call. So now he's in his ear, I'm like, yo, we need to run this. But at the same time, Kevin is trying to grow his legs. He's trying to, make his way into the NFL so he can be the next Kellen Moore, to have opportunity at a head coaching job. So therefore, we already know how conflict can be, arise in the Philadelphia Eagles organization. And I believe with a guy who's never called plays in this league before, that pressure probably can mount to him. So therefore, it can be a problem, and therefore it can not only be a problem, but it can be a snowball effect down to how the games are being called, how the plays are getting, called into the game, how efficient your playmakers are. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot that goes into being an offensive coordinator. Yeah, you can have all the glitz and the glam, but at the same time, you have to understand when is the right moment to call the plays. And if he never been in that moment, in those situations, how can you grade him to be successful? You know what I mean? So in my opinion, yes, it's going to be a problem because he haven't called plays before. and he haven't been in this position before. So therefore, we don't know how he's going to react. And we already know the pressure that's going to be on the Philadelphia Eagles, coaching staff in general, just because they're the Philadelphia Eagles. Regardless that they won a championship, they're the Philadelphia Eagles, and there's always going to be pressure on their football team to execute and be a phenomenal group of guys.
This guy was born in New Jersey, but it says on his Wikipedia page, which is not, I would say 99.9% of the time it's accurate, Pat, that he went to Western High School in Davie, Florida. Do you know where that is? Is that close to where Patrick Peterson?
I know Western. Yeah, I know exactly where. Well, I don't know exactly where that high school is, but I know where Western Florida is.
It says Davie, Florida, outside Broward County. And I'm guessing these guys would have gotten their asses kicked by your team in high school is how I'm going
100%. 100%. Anybody out west didn't stand a chance.
Okay. I don't want to be redundant and just parrot everything you said. So I'm going to agree, first of all, though, and say I do think it's a problem. What is unique about Nick Sirianni is that he's an offensive coach, but he doesn't call plays. He's a CEO coach. So that actually means, unlike, say, Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan, that when the coordinators leave, the offensive playbook can change too. Like Kellen Moore came from the outside. So I think there's a very good chance this guy's playbook, even the terminology could be different from what Kellen Moore's playbook looked like. And I do think it is concerning, and anybody in Philadelphia who doesn't see this or acknowledge this, I think is lying. He's been with Sirianni since 2021. He's 43 years old. So he's still young. He's not like super young. He's not boy genius young. And every time they lost an offensive coordinator up until now, they passed over this guy. When Steichen left for Indianapolis, they hired Brian Johnson instead. When Brian Johnson got fired, they brought Kellen Moore in. And this dude's been there as the passing game coordinator the entire time. Right. So at least 3 separate times, Nick Sirianni thought one of two things. This guy either isn't ready or he's not good enough for the job right now. So that's why
honestly, that's still the question.
Right. So I do see it as a problem for them. Next up is the Lions. Aiden Hutchinson is back running. We like to see that. But the big thing that they've got swirling there in Detroit, Pat, is should the Lions trade for Myles Garrett? What is your take on that?
Man, honestly, man, the Lions I know they're getting my boy Kevin Shepherd, who I played with at LSU. So congratulations to Kevin Shepherd getting the DC job there at the Detroit Lions.
He was great on Hard Knocks. He had great presence. I thought he could see.
Yeah. So he's a linebacker. He understands how to conduct a room and get guys in line and play the right way. But it's gonna be tough for the Lions, man, because I feel like they missed their window. In my opinion, I feel like the Lions missed their window on getting it done with Ben Johnson. Now, like we just talked about with the Philadelphia Eagles having a whole new offensive coordinator, learning a whole new staff. Who's to say that the Detroit Lions going to have that same creativity that they had last year? Because now Ben Johnson is out of the building. Yeah, we know that that Dan Campbell is an offensive guy, came on the Sean Payton, been in the Miami Dolphins, this, that, and the other. But Ben Johnson he just got, the leisure to be creative. Who's to say that Dan Campbell is that creative? Or if he have that creative mind, or even have that trust in his new offensive coordinator to be that creative. You know what I mean? So I think the Lions, man, like we always talked about, if you're not the Kansas City Chiefs, that window is like Kansas City Chiefs or the New England Patriots. That window is like this. You only got 3 years to make it happen, especially when you have the right group of guys in the locker room. And I feel like, man, the Detroit Lions have missed their window. We all, I'm all for Detroit. I love what they present and what they bring to the table. But I think with them missing both of their defense and offensive coordinator, that is going to be an uphill battle, and it's going to be almost not starting over, but kind of starting over again, because I know Kevin is going to come there and want to put his own twist onto things. We got a whole new offensive coordinator that's coming in there, so he going to want to have his own identity. So there's going to be a learning curve, in my opinion, that's going to hinder the Lions in this upcoming season.
So let me just to that point on losing Johnson in their window, just let me back this up with facts here. So the first year Jared Goff was paired with Campbell in Detroit, the offensive coordinator was Anthony Lynn. It was not Ben Johnson. Mm-hmm. And that year Detroit went 3-10 with a tie in there against the Steelers. And Goff's numbers were 19 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. They looked just like his stats in LA when the Rams decided we can't win a Super Bowl with this guy. The next year, Ben Johnson takes over, and they go 9-8. They beat the Packers that last week of the season, and he throws 29 touchdowns to 7 picks. Following year, 30-12, and then last year, 37-12. He's been a different quarterback with Ben Johnson.
No doubt about it.
That's why you're right, but that's why I think they trade for Myles Garrett. You might as well at this point just go balls to the wall. If there's real concern, if you don't think you can beat him with X's and O's, Pat, you try to beat him with Jimmy's and Joe's here. Go out and get go get one of the 5 or 10 best defensive players in the league and say, screw the scheme. We're just going to beat you with dudes. And it's, you got Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett lining up opposite each other. Good luck stopping that. Yeah. That would give your boy Shepard a big bump, and then maybe they're less reliant on their offense, and that might even give them time for their offense to go through some growing pains during the season. Yeah. You know what, Pat? They might have to shift from, and I know they've done this because Campbell believes in it, they might have to shift to more of like the Eagles offense where it's defense and run the ball next year.
And honestly, I don't see that being a problem with Dan Campbell personality and the mentality that he brings to the game of football. He wants to be able to control the line of scrimmage. He wants to be able to grind the football out. He wants to be able to lean on teams late in the fourth quarter. So I won't be opposed of that happening either.
49ers actually have the third best odds, even though they straight up missed the playoffs last year. Deebo Samuel has put in a trade request, and the Niners said, cool, go ahead. Shop yourself. We don't care. Would that be a big loss for San Fran?
No, I don't think so, because I feel like with Deebo, like he's a wild card. Like in my opinion, he's not a receiver. He's not a running back. He's not a quarterback, and he's not a tight end. So therefore, he's one of those guys that you can put anywhere. You know what I mean? So he don't have a definite or defined position to say, this guy's good at that. Because like for me, when I went up against him, when he was at a receiver, nobody wasn't scared of Deebo Samuel going out for a pass. We was worried about when he started motioning and, catching the ball out of the backfield more than anything, because we knew what he can do when he had the ball in his hands. As far as running routes and things like that, I didn't strike a fear in nobody's eyes. I'm sure I can speak for, many guys across the league. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's going to be like a big missing part, because nowadays, man, I won't necessarily say you can find a Deebo Samuels anywhere, because you can't. But you can find guys that have that athletic ability that's able to do some of the things that Deebo Samuels was able to do in your offense, because it's all about, getting him the ball in space. And if he's a good athlete enough to make at least the first guy miss, then after that, it's all gravy. You know what I mean? So that's what Deebo Samuels was able to do, with his talents there, in San Fran. Get the football in his hands early, make the first guy miss, and that everything after that is gravy. You know what I mean? And that's how he pretty much made a living. You didn't see, you pull up, please, Poni, you watch enough football in this league, pull up one clip that you've seen Deebo Samuels actually route up someone. And I'm not talking about no damn over or no damn 5-yard, zigzag route. I'm talking about actually running a route to get open.
So I'm not like the biggest chain restaurant fan, But my wife and I, because of our daughter and having somebody that's 18 months, actually 19 months now, involved in our lives, is like we like places that are in and out and we know consistently we're going to like get the same meal every time. And so for whatever reason, we've settled on Longhorn for that. Like Longhorn actually is just a good place for us to go like once or twice a month. It's close by. We know what we're going to get. We know how much we're going to pay. The food's usually good, never great, but just fine.
Right.
And the thing I loved about you when you played was you were consistent. You were A-plus player every year. There were not peaks, there were not valleys. You were pretty much consistent every year. Deebo Samuel is the opposite of that. The dude had one monster year in 2021 where he had 1,400 receiving yards, and he also threw in almost 400 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. And I think people have tried to chase that with him every year since. And everything you've said about how, he fit into the Shanahan offense, he's a guy that kind of is positionless and kind of a jack of all trades. You call him a tweener too, like someone that really doesn't have a defined position. But I don't feel like he's been a great player ever since that year. And there's a lot of mileage on there too, Pat. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of injuries because of the style he plays, not being like a finesse receiver. He's gotten hit a shit ton. I just think he's a cool name and people liked the way he played. I would not give up much at all for him, and I would not pay him much. So I think this is a situation like Kyle Shanahan's dad used to do in Denver with running backs. You chew them up and spit them out. And I think they've already gotten the best out of Deebo Samuel, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, because now, there's pictures surfacing that he's overweight. And, man,
like 30 pounds overweight. God damn.
Yeah, man. Listen, bro. Like, I've been in the league, and it's hard to get, especially if you're not already a big guy, it's hard to get that amount of weight off if you're already not at it right now. And I know Deebo's not at it right now. I know he's probably doing some light cardio work. The Super Bowl just got done, still get some traveling and in this, that, and the other. Like I've been there. You know what I mean? I lived that life, the same life that he's living. So it's going to be hard for him, man, to really, really get that weight up, because I already know he's probably not going to show up to OTAs. 100% he's not showing up to OTAs. He's not showing up to minicamp. You know what I mean? So therefore, now he's working on his own schedule. And is Deebo Samuel's motivated to really go out there and work out? Or is he really trying to prove a point, or in his feelings or upset that things are not going his way right now? So it can go either way. And the way that it's going right now, of the pictures that I'm seeing, is he's way overweight and it's heading in the wrong direction. Like, it's going to be hard for him to get, because we're already in March. We're about to be in March in a couple weeks, right?
Yep.
Like I just said, he's not going to OTAs. He's not going to minicamp. So therefore, we got training camp, which is only 6 weeks. So now he's going to be trying to work his body back into shape. He's going to be back in the same predicament that he was in this year.
You ain't dropping 30 pounds in training camp, brother.
That's what I'm saying. So he's going to be in the same predicament that he's in right now, because guess what? He's unhappy. So what's the purpose to really put forward my best effort?
I lumped in the Packers and Vikings because there's not really a huge storyline for the Packers. The Packers are pretty much the Packers, but their situation or spot in the NFC North probably, is affected by what's going on with Minnesota, and that's Sam Darnold, who's set to become a free agent. Pat, do you think that the Vikings should actually tag him for 1 year?
Yeah, I think they should.
Really?
Yeah, just because that's the safest route, in my opinion. I know we didn't get anything out of him in the playoffs, but at least we saw what we can get out of him in the postseason. I feel like with JJ McCarthy coming off injury, I still think he's going to need time to grow. And what better quarterback? I won't say what better quarterback, but he came into that system and learned the system, understand the scheme, understood the terminology, where the ball needs to go. So give JJ a couple more, a little bit more time under his belt, to where when he gets in there, now he kind of saw the game from the back seat. So now when it's his turn to drive, he got clear vision of it. Like I don't think it's in the Minnesota Vikings' best decision to rush JJ McCarthy out there, especially coming off a major knee injury and surgery that he's coming off of. So I don't think you should go out and pay, Sam Darnold, $45 million. I feel like to me. Oh, actually, they got your boy, Donald, right? Not Donald, from New York.
Well, no, Jones is a free agent, so he's
gone.
So
I got to bring him back. I don't trust them. I don't trust Daniels. We getting our defensive coordinator back. I know we got to make some decisions on the defensive side of the ball, but we're in a good enough position to run this thing back. In my opinion.
So I'm fine. Like, I like your opinion on, like, why are we trying to like rush JJ McCarthy in there? I would actually bring back Darnold more so for that reason than the reason of I don't think they can win with him. I think they can win regular season games. I don't think that they're gonna do anything in the playoffs with Darnold. Okay, so it would be more about like protecting JJ McCarthy. But here's the issue with the tag, Pat. It's $42 million. There's no friggin' way I'm doing that.
Go. Yeah.
Well, so here's just how I look at it. Let him go into free agency. And if, someone's willing to give him $35 million a year or something like that, or even 30, see you later. But, if I can get him for
somebody's definitely giving him 30. I don't know who.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I don't think the Steelers would do it. Just sitting here.
Steelers won't do it. Depends on the free agency is before the draft. So the Raiders pretty much have their quarterback in. Huh?
That's the one I was just going to say. I could see the Raiders doing it, but here's the problem. If the Raiders do it, then what's that mean? They're not going to draft Shedeur? Because free agency is before the draft.
Yeah.
But I could see Darnold in Vegas because of the Pete Carroll thing, the two USC guys, even though he obviously didn't play for him.
Yeah.
But
so here's my question to you then. Do you see Russell, if he hits the free agent market, do you see him getting 35 plus?
Hell no.
So Sam Darnold, off of what he did last year, should receive more than Russell Wilson, correct?
100%, yes.
So you're saying a Sam Darnold number is going to be north of 37-ish? You think that's a fair number or that's too high?
Oh, I think it's too high. I mean, but you know what though? Hold on a second. The salary cap.
I'm going to say, come on, Poni.
I know, dude. And look, I mean, I gotta it's like the price of eggs right now. Like I've got to recalibrate how much things are worth. But I'm just like, my God, I can't
fathom paying Sam Darnold no freaking $37 million.
Me neither, dude.
But it's the NFL fault. It is. It's the NFL fault, man, for paying guys like, no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence. I want to make sure I say that out of the gate. But Trevor Lawrence is not a $45 million guy or whatever he's making. He's
making 55. Try that.
Exactly. He's not that guy. He's not a $50 million quarterback. He's just not. He's a good guy. He's handsome, got the long hair, look like the California guy, this, that, and the other. All the ladies love him. It's very, very appealing, but he's not a $50 million quarterback. And that's what freaked up the NFL, giving average guys top tier salary. And at the end of the day, Sam Darnold had a better year than your boy had, than probably any years that Trevor Lawrence ever had.
From a statistical standpoint, you're right. I mean, I would say
that's what I'm saying. So Sam ain't gonna be coming in looking for nothing less than 40, and somebody gonna fuck around and give it to him. Excuse my language, but somebody gonna mess around and give it to him. Watch.
Well, if I'm Minnesota, I trust O'Connell enough where I'm like, I'm not giving even the tag. I don't feel good about it. $42 million, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
So I put these two teams together, Commanders and Bucks, and that might seem weird, but let me explain why. So the Bengals are reportedly going to tag T. Higgins. And here's why I think that affects both of these teams. Number one, the Commanders are the team that gets linked to Higgins in free agency more than anybody else because they've got tons of money and they've got Jaden Daniels, and the idea of putting Higgins, Daniels, and McLaurin together next year, everybody loves that fit. So they lose out on a potential T. Higgins if he's back in Cincinnati on the tag. And then I put the Bucks in there because if Higgins is off the market, Pat, well, then Chris Godwin becomes the number one wide receiver that's out there in free agency. So I guess really, though, this is a chance to just ask you, like, do you actually think if Higgins gets tagged that it's going to like be another situation there in Cincinnati, like at the beginning of last year with Chase, where Chase was pissed about his contract and it kind of lingered? If a dude like that who thought he was in for like $100 million payday is forced to play on the tag for $25 million this year?
First and foremost, the NFLPA needs to do a better job of getting rid of the tag. I think that is just bogus, in my opinion. We play this game to be able to position ourselves to receive a payday, right? And now when we do that, now the club have an opportunity to tag a player because now they're not in the position, or they don't feel like that player is worth what they're bringing to the table. So therefore, if you feel like that, just let him be a free agent. Like let's just take this tag stuff off, because we all know this NFL is not for long, and we want to be able to make the most bang up of our buck when we have the opportunity to. So the only tag, the tag should only apply to quarterbacks, in my God honest opinion, because quarterbacks withhold at least 50% of the salary cap, and therefore quarterbacks are the franchise players.
Well, they also play a position where like they can have more career longevity and durability.
Exactly. So therefore, the franchise tag shouldn't apply to other players besides the quarterback, because at the end of the day, when you think about it, when franchise gets started, what they all think they need to have to win a championship?
Quarterback.
Exactly. So we should only franchise those guys, not everybody else, because you're looking to get better at each and every position, well, at quarterback too. But if you have that franchise quarterback, you're looking to hold on to that guy forever. So why would the league in the NFL PA allow the league to continue to have guys in this situation? Yeah, I get that they're making a franchise tag, they're getting the top 5 salary, of that year, but it's all about guarantees. It's all about the guaranteed dollars over a certain amount of years versus that 1 year, because anything can happen within that 1 year. And I'm sorry, I forgot. I had to get off my chest. I'm sorry, I forgot the initial question that you asked me.
Well, no, it was I honestly just turned the question into like, how does this T. Higgins situation affect the rest of the NFL and these teams that want him, or the trickle-down effect of wide receivers now that are going to be in a better situation in free agency because Higgins isn't like the big domino to fall. Like Chris Godwin, who's coming off a knee injury, if the Commanders and Patriots and Chargers, these teams that need wide receivers, if Higgins isn't going to go out there, his price tag is going to go up. So like there are guys who actually benefit from Higgins getting tagged, but he's the real loser in this because of what you said. I mean, he's going to lose out likely on like, I don't know, $90 million.
Right.
I know the contract won't be fully guaranteed, but like he's going to lose out on a lot of money here. And the thing that's effed up about it is he like gets punished because he's on a team with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
Right. And Jamar Chase haven't even gotten paid yet.
Well, right. He's going to get, and they're going to choose him.
I mean, he's going to get paid, but he haven't even gotten paid yet.
And Trey Hendrickson needs to get paid by them too. That's why he's screwed.
Yeah, this is, man. That's why they don't need to have the franchise tag for other players. And this is exactly why.
And I know that people are listening to this thinking, I don't have a lot of empathy for a guy that's about to make $25 million in one season. I get it. Like this is obviously, we're talking about, first world problems, but it's just, you always compare yourself to your peers. And if I was T. Higgins, I'm like, this is effed up that these other guys at my position
100%.
who I'm better than are getting all this money and I'm not.
100%. Because now, who's to say that? No, because he was even banged up this year.
Right. If he has a bad year, I mean,
You know
he'll
what I
still
mean?
probably
So
go-
like, it's just bad, man. I just hate the franchise tag. I just
bad
think,
business. I agree with you.
yeah,
It's dirty.
I think the good Lord that I never was, franchise tag, because I just think that's just like I mean, I won't necessarily say it's a death sentence, but at the same time,
I mean, it ruined Le'Veon Bell's career.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that franchise tag, man, that is no good. That should be only for quarterbacks who we're looking at as the franchise.
The Rams here, I put them alone because of the Stafford trade rumors. Do you actually think it's a good idea for them to move on from him?
Not yet. After this year, I mean, hell, he's probably going to retire after this season. I mean, I'm not trying to put that on, Matthew Stafford, but that's probably is what is going to happen. But no, they got to stick around with Matthew if they want to continue to be competitive. I believe that division is something for them to still win, and also be competitive in. We know what the Arizona Cardinals, is going to bring. Hopefully, they can get, more competitive and find a way to finish out the season. I think the 49ers, man, they're going to continue to take a step back. I think they missed their window. Like we talk about those windows, so they have an opportunity to still win their division. You know what I mean? To be competitive in the NFC West. So I don't think that they move on from Matthew Stafford just yet.
I'm confused by this in a number of different ways. Like,
God damn, I got something in mind.
there seems to be some kind of discord there, or disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Stafford had to get his contract reworked right before the season started last year to even make 2024 happen. And I don't think he feels, and maybe it's because of the way the trade happened. Like, Goff was in his 20s and McVay was like, screw it. I've been to a Super Bowl with this guy, but I just don't think we can get any further with him. And so maybe, Matthew looks at this and is like, I'm older, and almost like Belichick with Brady, like where he was like thinking the whole time, Garoppolo, I got to move on. I got to get ready for the next guy. And it pissed Brady off. And obviously it ended up in a divorce. Maybe Stafford's reading those tea leaves there, but I just kind of thought that those guys were perfect for each other, Stafford and McVay. And it just sounds like, from the things that his wife says on her podcast, which is interesting, that like, she puts her message out there, which is basically his business. And it gives us kind of a glimpse into how they really feel about things. But it sounds like they're pretty pissed about the way Cooper Kupp situation got handled, and are like, all right, maybe it's time for everybody to go their separate ways here. And if Stafford's available, Pat, then he becomes, for me, the best quarterback that's out there for next year.
100%. Even if he's only going to give me 1 year, he's definitely the best quarterback out there in the free agency market. So, whatever team, if he does become a free agent, I guarantee he gets north of 35, 40 for that 1 year.
I just don't believe the rumor that's out there that they want to trade.
No, I don't believe it either. No, that's why I say he's not going anywhere.
That they want to trade him for a first-round pick and then take a shot with Rodgers next year. That would just be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen happen in the
Aaron
NFL.
Rodgers?
Yes. Yeah.
Next question.
Okay, Seahawks and Bears. I put these two teams together for this reason. Two teams who missed the playoffs last year, but both, believe it or not, have very good odds to make the playoffs in 2025. So if you had to pick one of these two teams to do it, who would it be?
Who did the Bears hire as the DC?
Oh, that is a great question, actually. Spence, get on that for us, because I should know that question, and I think it's in my brain somewhere.
Yeah.
But by the time I try to figure it out, it's going to take too much time. I know that.
Oh, Dennis Allen.
Yep.
I do like them to make the playoffs.
You do?
I do. I like them to make the play. Well, I said the Detroit Lions going to take a step back. Yeah, so I can see them being.
You're giving this some serious thought, which I like. You're really pondering this one.
I am. I'm trying to think now because we know Green Bay is going to be competitive. It depends on what Minnesota does with the quarterback.
They won't make it.
Yeah, and like I already said, that Detroit is going to take a step back, missing both coordinators. So right now, I see them as with their roster and with Dennis Allen coming over, and I know the pressure that he likes to apply, and I know the defensive mind that he has, that this can be a well coached football team. So I'm gonna give them, as of right now, with all the question marks at the other places, the number 2 team in the NFC North.
See, I think Seattle right now is under the radar. I mean, Geno
Smith, it's already been pretty much televised that they like Geno Smith, but they don't like Geno Smith.
Well, but Kubiak came there as their offensive coordinator, and he gave him a glowing review. So I'd be shocked if something happened there, but who knows? I mean, it's just coach speak. People can change their mind. They're not under oath here going into the season. Dude, every year he's been their starting quarterback, Geno Smith. They've had a winning record. Did you know that?
Yeah. No, I didn't know that. And I'm a Geno fan.
8-7 with him as the starter, and then 10-7.
I just didn't like the way that the season ended last year. How they talked about they felt like the team was losing trust in Geno Smith. Is he still the quarterback moving forward? So there was a lot of questions coming from that within the organization that I'm hearing on television.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? So they got to be coming from somewhere. So my question is, do they really trust Geno Smith moving forward?
Probably not. I mean, not as in to win a Super Bowl, but the question here is make the playoffs. I like teams, and this is something that maybe not a lot of people dig into. I like teams that basically had horrible offensive line injury luck to have much better injury luck on their offensive line the next year. I don't think that shit's going to hit the fan 2 years in a row. And they were a team that literally had a new offensive line combination every week, and he still threw for 4,300 yards. So
listen, that is a Seattle Seahawks thing. Ever since I've been in the league playing against them, yeah, they always have. Man, I mean, you name an offensive line that blew your mind. I mean, they never could block for Russell Wilson when he was there. That's why he had to run around.
I kind of think that's more of a Russ problem, but that's okay.
It is, but at the same time, I played those suckers twice a year.
Yeah, that's true.
And listen, they offers out. That was the first thing. Anytime our defensive coordinator came in there and gave a speech, it was like, "Hey man, get this guy down. They cannot protect him. So when we get there, don't jump because we know he's gonna pump fake. Stay on your feet and tackle him. That's it." And I'd be damned. We get in the game. Russell go back there and hit you with this, and everybody all off the ground jumping, and he creating that time. The Seattle Seahawks never had an offensive line that can protect any of their quarterbacks.
Well, they did back when they had Sean Alexander as their running back.
That was back in early, mid 2000s.
That's when they had Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson, who are both
Well, ever since Russell Wilson been their quarterback, and now they have. Let's go for Spence. I want Spence to pull this up. Since 2011 till 2025, how many sacks have the Seattle Seahawks given up?
Oh, man, you're giving him a huge homework assignment, but we'll put him to it. We'll see what he comes up with. Cowboys next. Dak Prescott says the Cowboys are very close to winning the Super Bowl, even though I just named 10 teams in the NFC with better odds than them. All these teams that we've talked about have better odds than the Cowboys, according to the odds makers. What's wrong with this team? They're honestly, and I hate to put it in a crass way like this, they're like a girl who thinks she's a 10, but she's more like a 4.
Yeah.
100%. What are we doing here? It's like they all drink the Kool-Aid, man, and they think they're way better off and in way better shape and much closer than they are all the time, constantly.
It's the Jerry Jones Kool-Aid.
It's the echo chamber.
Yeah, it's the Jerry Jones Kool-Aid. Obviously, he's going to, he's always in front of the camera. So whatever he says, the Cowboy fans is what? It's at least 50% of them in the United States of America that cheer for the Cowboys. So
Oh,
when
God,
they
please don't put the number that high.
no,
Ugh.
I'm sorry, but that's it. It is what it is. But for the most part, whenever Jerry Jones gets in front of a camera and be like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, that, and the other," you got millions of people listening to that and believing in that because they are diehard Dallas Cowboy fans. So they're just going off what the owner is saying, and the owner is giving false hope, fiberglass stories each and every year, and hope that they're going to do this and do that, do this, that, and the other, and it never comes to fruition. So they're just going by off of what their leader is giving them. And he just continued to lead them into that deep water. There ain't no lifeguards out there. There ain't none of those circle little rafts and no buoys and the boats and the jet skis and stuff out there. Now you out there in that deep blue sea all by yourself. Can you swim? I know you can see the shore, but can you swim back to the shore when you got all these sharks and killer whales and all these predators out there preying over your body?
I'm going to actually say something, though, because I live this every year with the Steelers where they make the playoffs, but they have no shot of winning a Super Bowl. I actually think I think Dallas is a good candidate to bounce back and make the playoffs next year.
No, they're not.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you, it's going to start with the head coach. Brian Schottenheimer never been a head coach. Man, this guy has barely had a damn OC.
I agree with that.
OC job more than 2 years.
I agree with that.
So, it's going to start with the head coach. And he haven't been successful in many places that he's been. Matter of fact, he was there in Seattle that when they couldn't protect for Russell Wilson. I played against him. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So, I seen his offense, and it's very, very vanilla. So, I don't know what spice that he's going to bring to the offense or what spaz that he's going to or what differentials that he's going to bring to the offense. But for the most part, I don't see nothing change. I see the Dallas Cowboys being in the exact same spot that it was in this year, especially if they don't make any major free agent moves. They're going to be the same team that they were last year. And I hate to say it for all my America teams fans, but this was in my opinion, a horrible hire. Outright horrible.
When we ranked the head coaching hires, we agreed on that. It was the worst one. And by the way, Spence's research assignment, Russell Wilson from 2012 to 2021 in Seattle was sacked 427 times.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's a lot of stuff.
I was there for 10 years and I saw at least 100 of
sacks a year. Falcons. Here's an interesting one on them. This is why I left them by themselves. Do the Falcons owe it to Kirk Cousins to release him? And here's why I'm bringing this up. And no one I feel like has brought this up. Pat, it's all guaranteed money. So
yeah,
they're either going to pay him to be on their team or they're going to pay him to play for somebody else. In my opinion, I would rather have him as my insurance policy for Penix than just have him go to pay him, 25, 30, more than 25, pay him $35, $40 million to go be somebody else's quarterback next year.
Yeah, but is Kurt, if they keep him, do you think, because Kurt been a day one start, well, not a day one starter since he's been in the league. He's been at least the last 10 years. He's been a starter since 2013. You said.
Cousins would have been his first 2014-15, I would say, once RG3 got hurt. So for more than
he wasn't a day one starter, but he's been a starter from the for the last 10 years for the most part, right?
Correct. Yep.
So now you're asking him to be, a backup. I don't see Kurt that sitting very well with Kurt. I could see him asking for a trade or to be released. I don't see Kurt being a backup to Michael Penix.
Well, then
so he's going to get cut or release. He's going to get traded or released. He
Then,
won't
dude,
be on the Atlanta Falcons team next year.
then for me, you shouldn't have signed a guaranteed contract then. That's your fault.
100%. That was the first bum mistake. I don't even like using the dummy word because I got kids, but that's the first bum mistake that they made off giving someone that contract coming off an injury. And then if you already had in your mind that you're drafting a quarterback anyway, like I'm not spending that money on no quarterback. I'm gonna go get me another quarterback within the free agency who's played in the league that had some type of success to help Michael Penix come up behind. I'm not going to go out here and break the bank on a quarterback who I'm not really sure that's going to be the future of my team, or if he's even going to be my quarterback next year. So, like I said, that was the first mistake that the Atlanta Falcons made last offseason. So hopefully they learn from their mistakes. They can make some better draft picks to really help this football team because they need some pass rushers. They need linebackers. They need what else they really don't use their tight ends, but
Pitts has been terrible. He was not a good pick.
Yeah. But they need pass rushers for sure because they could not get no pressure on the
They need front seven help. Bottom line, they need guys in their front seven.
Exactly, on both sides. So
yep.
If they can get better in the trenches and get some guys who can fill in the pieces, almost like a McLeod did, Ray McLeod did last year, coming in the slot, making some big plays for him. If they can find some guys like that later on in the free agency that can help Penix continue his growth, help Drake continue his growth, maybe we can see where it goes from there. But they have an opportunity to make their to improve their roster. I know they're going to be giving out a bunch of dead money to Kirk Cousins, regardless where he is, if he's at home or on another team. He's getting that regardless. But they have an opportunity to put some pieces, around this young quarterback to really help him flourish. And like I said, let's see where this thing can go.
The Saints, they hired Kellen Moore, and at his introductory press conference, he said very nice things about Derek Carr.
That means he won't be there.
Well, okay, so this is something that we might have. So I know we mentioned this. I know you and me talked about this, and it got brought up to me by somebody who I think their opinion kind of, matters. Like I trust what they have to say about NFL things because of their experience in the league. I think there's a good chance that Carr gets treated like Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins there this year.
Yeah.
I think it's a situation where he might just end up getting benched because they play Rattler or somebody else with the idea that it gives them a better chance to draft somebody the following season. Like,
I can see.
2026 draft has a really good crop of quarterbacks, and you're just not going very far with Derek Carr at this point in his career, Pat.
No, he turned the ball over too much too. That's what offensive coordinators hate the most. Quarterbacks who turn the ball over on a high frequency level.
Well, so now you're making an argument for Aaron Rodgers to get a job because he's got the lowest interception percentage in NFL history.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing that. It's everything that Aaron Rodgers brand that comes with Aaron Rodgers that's kind of making me skeptical of having him a part of my roster. But I can see the New Orleans Saints trading Derek Carr to try to get something for him. But the thing is, too,
dead money hit on him is $50 million if they trade him. I don't think they will. I think they'll do it after this season. I think they make him sit there before they traded him. Would be my take.
Yeah, they're not trading him then.
But
they'll be there. They'll probably bench him mid-season.
Giants. Early thoughts on what the Giants should do with the first pick.
Giants with the first pick. They got to go get their quarterback, whoever it is. If it's Ward, if it's Sanders, whoever they feel like their quarterback is, they have to go out there and get their quarterback. Just because what's interesting enough, I saw that Travis is going into the combine as a DB, which kind of make it interesting for the New York Giants if they don't feel like they have to go get a quarterback right now because they have, a solid receiver. it's very sudden that you see both receivers stand together throughout the course, of that first contract. So you basically will have, a couple years with them. And if you don't have a quarterback to throw to them the ball, what use it is to have those two good receivers. So it's either quarterback. If they don't have a quarterback in mind, I go get Travis Hunter.
I think they're going to end up with Cam Ward.
Yep.
I think given what's gone on with Dable and
real quick about Cam Ward. I don't watch a ton of college football.
Yeah.
Cam Ward, man, he got a lot of Caleb Williams tendencies, man.
I agree.
Yeah, man. He got a lot of Caleb Williams tendencies. Yes.
And I think Sanders is the opposite of that. I think Sanders plays the position more like a classic pocket quarterback. That's why I prefer him. But I think they take Ward over Sanders, which scares me. That's what everybody thinks they do. Dude, I think Hunter or Abdul Carter from Penn State are going to be better players than Ward, but they just need to take a shot on a quarterback. So they're going to, because people are going to get even if they draft Hunter and let's say Hunter has a great year. If the team goes 5-12 because they don't have a quarterback, the coach and the GM are going to get fired. They're not going to get a.
Well, the coach and the G. Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they both will be out of there.
So they got to take a shot on a quarterback. The whole league knows it.
Yeah.
All right, last one here. Cardinals and Panthers. Anything on these teams? Anything on your old team here, Pat? You want to share?
Cardinals. They got to get some more household names, guys. In my opinion, I watched a lot of the Cardinals games. They have guys who are in position, but they don't have any 5-star players. So they got to find a way to go out and get some 5-star players that can bring the other guys up to their playing style, right? So you only got one Buda Baker on your defense. You really can't name anybody else on the Arizona Cardinals defense. Can you? Oh, I know you can, but any household names or 5-star type caliber players that can really help this team turn the corner. So I love what Gannon has going on over there. I really feel like he has the team going in the right direction, but it's also going to predicate on how Kyler Murray plays and finish the season, because we all seen what he can do in the early half of the season, but we all seen what he can do in the latter part of the season. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's getting him another receiver, if that's getting, because James Conner had a pretty solid year rushing the ball. McBridge had a pretty solid season, tight end catching the ball. Marvin Harrison was kind of up and down, but for the most part, had a solid rookie season. It wasn't nothing spectacular, but it's something to build off. So for the most part, we have to see, and I know Kyler is going into year 6, if I'm not mistaken. We want to see him take that leap in the back half of the season, because now we've seen enough what you can do in the first 2 months of the season. Now what are you going to do when it's really, really, really dependent on you and to get the team over the hump? Because we can't continue to live in this same pile of boo-boo for the last 5 years. When we expect so much more of you, when your contract, is saying otherwise. You know what I mean? So if Kyler is not able to get it done this year, I won't be surprised if there's one, and I know that's going to be a tough contract for them to get off as well. But I won't be surprised if the Arizona Cardinals start to look in another direction to try to find, another franchise quarterback. But it just all depends on how Kyler Murray finishes the season, man, because he's always started the season off spectacular, but he just never finished it off very well.
The thing I'll say about the other team, Pat, Carolina, is they actually have momentum going into this offseason.
They do.
It looked like they were going to be a team that had a dreadful spot where they had wasted a trade and then a pick on Bryce Young, and they were going to have to, in 2 years, just admit they were wrong, and maybe they would be picking in the top 5, and that team would be having a Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders debate. Instead, once he went back into the lineup after that benching, the guy played well enough with a super young offense, with all other than Thielen, who's a great veteran, but not what he once was in Minnesota. And rookie wide receivers, he made it work. And Chuba Hubbard got hurt late in the year, so they didn't even have him. I mean, he just made tremendous progress. He looked like he was going to be destined to be a backup for the next 10 to 15 years of his life. And he rehabilitated himself. And that's a testament to their coaching staff there too, and their handling of the situation. So they've got money to spend. They've got an offensive line that they fixed. Their defense was absolutely awful. So their offense needs to get healthy, and they need to draft defensive players. But Carolina actually is a team that probably their fans, for the first time since they picked Young and had high hopes for him, are like, hey, maybe we can actually become a relevant, legitimate team. It's not hard in the NFC because you don't have as many good quarterbacks in the NFC as you do the AFC. So you talk about windows, the door is open for a team. I agree with you. If you think San Francisco and Detroit and those teams are starting to decline, well, then there's room for a team like Carolina to jump up.
Yep.
There you go. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been our NFC Offseason Storyline podcast. We'll do the same thing with the AFC the next time we chat. Pat will probably get in a few rounds of golf in the meantime. I'll just wear a golf hat that makes me look like I know what I'm doing on the golf course when I actually don't. Thanks to Spencer Ray for producing, and apparently for never having a favorite NFL team. That makes him like one of 0.1% of America who's never had a favorite NFL team.
Very rare. Very rare.
We'll be back again soon. Subscribe, rate, review. It's First and Pod.
Peace.